This is episode 486 on the 23rd of February 2022. The 50 over Women's World Championship is only 12 days away from today. But like we do all things for the other gender, if that's the mindset, we don't take it seriously. That's the way we think. That's the kind of medieval attitude we have. But sports is all about building momentum. And if I tell you that the women's team, especially in this sport, has a chance of doing something that has never happened before, that is winning the world championship, you would think I'm off the rocker. You would think it's impossible. Maybe, of course, unless you do something, it's impossible. Whenever an Indian team, whether it's an individual or a team, steps into the ground, we don't take them seriously. Yes, if they win, great. Yet we are able to take out the negative aspect of anything. Even if we win, we will take out there are these problems, there are those problems, there are management issues, there are issues between the player and the management, and all those things, controversies. We'll talk about the controversy part in the next episode. But when it comes to an Indian team, even if they are good, it won't be taken seriously. For example, when India made it to the last two finals of the World Championship, that is the 2017 50 over World Championship and the 2020 20 over Women's World Championship, no one would have taken them seriously. Why? Because facing them were immortal teams, great teams, women's teams like England and Australia. And when you have teams like England and Australia, then there is no chance that the Indian team can win. They fought hard, they took both these teams to the limit, but eventually England is the 50 over defending world champion and Australia are the 20 over defending world champion. India was a common denominator in both. They made it to the finals, but that's not enough. Eventually they didn't win. So what do? We feel pretty okay, well done. There's a chance next time. 5 years from 2017, maybe 4 years from 2020, the team will be better, they will be well equipped. Of course, there will be issues between the players and the coach. If there are no issues between the player and the coach, then how can you have a sport? Whether it's at the individual level, at the team level, at the management level, at the governing body level, if there are no issues in that pyramid, then it's no fun. And if it doesn't come out in the open, whatever the issues are, then there is no fun. And then when I tell you that India's chances in this World Cup, with the aspect of the Asian teams versus the world teams, of course there are 9 teams in this competition, and India's chances in my favor are 25%, which means you have to divide 75% between the other 8 teams. And those who are listening to this broadcast or will listen to this broadcast might be rolling on the floor laughing. They would ask, is this a comedy show? Are you seriously saying that India's chances, that is the women's teams, forget it, even if I said this was the men's team, and I said that India's chances are 25%, looking at how they performed in the previous tournament, it would be a laughing matter. But it's no laughing matter. Of course, there are issues, there are things that the team has to resolve in specific aspects of the game. And of course, when you have Asian teams versus the world team, Asian teams rarely have a chance. Who eventually did win the men's 20 over world championship? Australia. Who was the finalist? Who were their opponents? New Zealand. And only our neighboring country came closest to reaching the final. That was a bit of a luck for that neighboring country, because when you place India and our neighboring country in the same group, which I find it to be ridiculous and absolutely moronic. When you place teams in such a situation, only one team can go to the next round, which makes it even more dramatic. But we'll talk about that later because that tournament is still 180 days away. So that's a lot of time for us to talk about that tournament. Still 180 to 200 days away. So let's not get too much into that because I have a lot to say as far as the group positioning and the format of the tournament is concerned. But let's focus on the Indian women's team's chances. I'll say it. If you think it's a laughing matter, for you it may be a laughing matter, but not for me. They may not go on to win. They may not even go beyond the league stage or the round robin format. You don't know. You have 9 teams and then you have 8 chances, which is not enough. But as I said, what you do in a pre-tournament and what you do in a major tournament are 2 different things. If that was the case, then Australia, of course, these are now in the vault in the past. There is no use talking about it because it has no relevance. But just to give some context, if that was the case, Australia lost 12 20 over matches in a row, and everyone was saying they have no chance. Everyone had given up on them. And what happened? When the time comes, they went on to win the World Championship. And that has happened with every team. So before we say that India's chances are zero, which most pseudo experts and most self-professed experienced pseudo media and print electronic media will say, because they feel that we have the right to say this. We are still affected by the hockey team getting a bronze medal. We were something like children when the hockey team got the bronze medal. Of course, there's no connection between the two sports. There's a lot of connection. It's all about a good mindset. And of course, even if, of course, no one is giving a chance, there is no pre-tournament hype. All the hype is on other bilateral tournaments which no one really cares about because bilateral tournaments, they don't really put things in perspective. There's 12 days to go, but the main broadcaster or the governing body, there is not much of a hype. In fact, I have received mails from the governing body for the last 2 to 3 months, and all their focus is on the men's 20 over World Championship. That hospitality is open, tickets are available, pre-tournament hype, post-tournament hype, mid-tournament hype. That's the mindset. That's the mindset. This would have happened even if this was a women's division hockey game. That's the way we think. We can't talk about certain things unless we have a change. And of course, I have only watched the Indian women's division in the last 6 years, and I have seen them get better. So there are a few individuals who may be not allowing the team to go further, or there is too much of hype on certain individuals, but we can debate on that for years to come and do things. And of course, things have improved. So I'm not impressed with the current individual who is the coach or who was the coach once upon a time, but that's the way things are. Controversies will always be part of sports, and momentum will always be part of sports. It comes down to the level playing field. Is it a level playing field? If I say that one of the Asian teams in this tournament, because we're looking at Asia versus World as a chance, you would still be laughing. You would still be rolling on the floor. And if I say one of the world teams has a chance, you would say yes, one of the world teams has a chance because they have been hyped so much. Of course, they have won tournament before and they have got that kind of traction and hype. The commentators have not spared any words to hype the world team. So what does that mean? It becomes India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and a neighboring country versus West Indies, New Zealand, England, South Africa, Australia, and I hope maybe one more team. Maybe. If you say that one between India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and an neighboring country has a chance, it would be a laughing matter. You would be rolling on your floor. Whether you knew 1% about women's cricket or you knew nothing about it, because it's Indian sports. And then who are the teams facing? Of course, there is no France, there is no Germany, there is no teams from the South American nation or the African nation. There is one team from the African nation, but you have 9 teams and we call them world teams. Of course, there is no Portugal, no Spain, no Senegal, no North Africa, no Egypt, no hype teams like Brazil and other teams which I really don't care about, because I think teams like Brazil are just fluke. Portugal, Spain, they don't really, they just fluke. They win because they win on the fact that the referee allows them to win. So if I say, but let's focus on cricket for now. If I say that the Asian side of the team has a chance, let's say 25% each, and the world teams have a chance, let's say 20% each. Whether you knew about cricket or you knew 1% or 10% or 25% or you knew something, and yes, a bunch of players exist, a bunch of women's players exist, 25, 30 individuals or more who play cricket and who have done well. Of course, when you say cricket, you're only obsessed with one or two names as far as the women's division is concerned. Of course, that's the human mind. We have always been obsessed with certain things in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and of course, generation versus generation, millennia versus millennia, generation this versus generation that. That's absolute nonsense, absolute horse beep beep beep. So I'm not getting into that. But of course, those who have, of course, the pseudo experts, the former players will say India has a chance, but they don't have the pedigree. But teams like West Indies, New Zealand, England, South Africa, Australia, all of them champions in sub tournament, except South Africa. West Indies has done well. England has won the championship. Australia has won the championship. But they all have a semblance of a chance. And of course, their world team, their New Zealand, the world of cricket, in the world of this limited cricketing world with limited teams, even though the International Cricket Board is trying to give teams like Italy and Germany and Nepal and UAE and Papua New Guinea a chance to qualify. That's just a big joke, because Germany has a better chance of qualifying for a cricket World Cup than India has a chance of qualifying for the Football World Cup. It just shows our attitude towards football. We are only obsessed with club level, surface level, superficial level, both. India's chances of qualifying for any football World Cup in the next 50 years is as much as saying that the men's team can win the 20 over World Cup this year, the 50 over World Cup next year, and the World Test World Cup next year. That will be too much to say. Or we will have an Indian tennis player who will break the records of troops like Nadal and Djokovic and Agassi and Federer. Maybe an Indian tennis player will have 25 Grand Slam titles. It's like that's equivalent to saying that in a women's team in cricket or a women's team in hockey, team sport, there's a chance of winning the world championship. And that's the silly and moronic and idiotic attitude we have. I'm going to break that silly, moronic, and idiotic attitude. I'm not going to go with those pseudo experts because they are pseudo experts. They have no say, they have no weight. They only have weight, but there is no weight in their voice. All they have is weight because of their apparent lack of fitness post retirement, but there is no weight in their voice because of the apparent lack of words, lacuna or words, and they don't have the gift of the gap. They never will have the gift of the gap. I'm the only one left as far as the sport is concerned to have any kind of gift of the gap, and it's fine. I'm the best in the world, and I'll be. But back to this tournament. Who could be the MVP? Of course, everyone knows there's a Shefali Verma. some a 17-year-old, 7.5-year-old, a certain Richa Bush has now started elevating herself in this particular thing. So I think three players, and I'm not naming the obvious ones who have already been there for a good duration. I'm not going to say players like Mithali Raj or Julian Goswami or Hanum because they have been there for more than a decade or 25
Yes.
years. So let's not get into that situation because they have been there, but they haven't won it. So these are the players to watch out for. They already established themselves, but if they perform in this tournament, if if the likes of Shefali Verma, Richa Ghosh, Yastika Bhatia, all-rounders like Deepti Sharma, Sneh Rana, if they can come up with something, one match, all you need is one match. Who was Yuvraj Singh before the 2011 World Cup? Just another player. 2011 World Cup elevated him and at the same time almost ended his career because of other reasons. All you need is one player of the tournament performance. Can these players do it? Can a Deepti Sharma or a Sneh Rana do it? Yes. All about putting yourself in the correct spot. Only have 11 spots open out of 20 player squad, which means 9 will obviously miss out. Who are the 9 to miss out? That's something that the coach, the captain, the management at their own discretion can focus on. So let's not get into that debate. But if these players can do something, maybe a century, a half century, and stun the world by beating one of the world teams, as I said, one of the world teams can make into a very rosy picture. But as I said, it's all about momentum and Indian team pre-tournament performance in the Indian-New Zealand ODI Cup hasn't been up to expectation. They were 3-0 down when the match happened yesterday. When the match was reduced to a 20-over match, and of course, the New Zealand team riding on momentum, riding on luck, and riding on other things, rode their way to 190 in 20 overs. 190 is good enough whether you are a men's division, women's division, junior level, senior level, under 12, under 5, whatever be the level, whatever be the level, whatever be the situation, men's division, women's division, whatever be it. 190 in 20 overs, nearly at 10 runs per over. It's very few teams can chase. Those who can chase, good luck to them. One New Zealand made 190, riding on a bit of luck and bit of momentum and other things, thanks to a couple of hype players. It was always going to be difficult for India to chase. And once they lost 4 wickets for 19 runs in 4 overs, and despite Richa Ghosh's attempt to hit 50 or 20 balls, it was never going to work because the other players did not contribute. When you're chasing 190, you have to be at least in the first 4-5 overs 60 70. Of course, West Indies were also 60 70, yet they lost. It's not always that it works that way, but it's just the momentum. But of course, there is criticism. The coach, the captain, and of course the pseudo media, everyone is saying that the World Cup performance will be influenced by this performance. I think I disagree with that situation. I don't think performance in the World Cup will be affected by the performance. Maybe up to a certain extent, but not fully. If that was the case, and I can give you an example which most people will understand. If you perform poorly in your pre-board or qualification exams, if whether it was school or college or exit exams, if you got 40% in an assignment or in a exit exam test, everyone would say you're not good enough. You haven't prepared yourself. Then what happens when the actual thing happens? When the actual exit exam or the entrance exam happen, you get 80%. Right? Of course, 80 is not enough, but this is just in the context. So if let's say a pseudo tuition center takes a pre-test to give stimulate the environment and majority get 45, 50, 60%, They will say you are not well prepared. There are problems. The parents will be shocked. They will be stunned. How can my kid get 60% in the free exit test situation? How will they do well in that? There are two different scenarios. Of course, there are some issues to sort out, as always, batting troubles, fielding lapses, bowling concerns, the right person not selected for the right match. New Zealand is fighting a momentum, and Sundar have given up on India's chance. But who are they? They are the egomaniacal journalists and pseudo experts. So I will not go with their assessment. One doesn't know what will happen in 12 days' time in India and plays their first match. Will this tournament affect them? If that was the case, most teams do not even reach that. Most teams have not done well in the pre-tournament matches or warm-up matches. When it comes to the actual one, something else can happen. So let's not get too carried away. There's a long way to go. It's all about momentum, but sometimes momentum can be deceptive. You don't know how will New Zealand perform in their first match. And how will India do? India may beat their opponent in the first match. And that's when they start riding on the momentum. So let's not get too carried away by the performance in this tournament. Whatever they have to shout out is on them. 5-0 loss will not affect the tournament. If that's the case, then most teams would not be favorites. As I said, favorites are always going to be between the ones on the right, West Indies, New Zealand, England, Africa, Australia. But teams like India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and our neighbors can surprise the world. So be prepared for the surprise. This ends episode number 487 on the 25th of February 2022. And I will be back on the 25th of February, episode number 487. And this ends episode number 486 on the 23rd of February 2022. And what should you do while you wait for the next episode? You should put these legendary books in your legendary must-read books column. Once again, you should put these books in your legendary must-read books column.